Okay, well,
so
I feel like that's a part 1 kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a great episode standing alone.
No.
But if the next episode, it basically gives us some more context, then it might be okay. But as of right now, that's the kind of stuff that I tend to avoid with the shonen genre in particular.
I feel like they were spending so much time explaining this new guy that was showing up when we don't really care about him. Like,
we don't.
Like, spend the time explaining, like, how Hisoka, kicks his butt,
Right. Like, if you focused a little bit more on having maybe a basic premise for Kastro, and we know right off the bat that he has a technique that's been winning him, like, he's won, 9 games in a row or 8 games in a row since that point with Hisoka with this new technique, and no one really knows how he does it. And then Hisoka...
a lot cooler.
Yeah, Hisoka just kind of figures it out. Right. But it's then the idea that, wait, why haven't I beaten Hisoka? Why is he disinterested? And we see it maybe from Kastro's perspective.
Yeah, that would have been really cool. And I love the point that you made about it would have been much better if Hisoka had only 2 losses, not 3.
Yes.
Because otherwise we know that he's fated to win.
Yeah, it's one of those things where they use the idea of an arbitrary number to build up the fact that he has forfeited this many times.
Right.
Which I actually interpret that as, he's waiting for a specific fight. He's been scheduling so that he won't get kicked out of the 200s, but he hasn't shown up because he wants to stay in this environment for a specific fight.
Right.
And story-wise, we can kind of assume that to be Gon's if he knows that Gon is here.
Especially because, since he's fated to this one, to win this one, right?
Because he has 3 losses.
Because he has 3 losses. He already has 8 wins, which means he will have 9 wins and 3 losses after he wins this one.
Which means perfect when he goes to fight Gon.
Exactly.
Because then when that happens...
Win or lose, it's the end for him.
It's the end for him in this area.
Right.
And that's good because then we go, okay, so maybe there's a bit of a sacrifice going on where... Kastro, unfortunately, is being used as a narrative plot point to build up Hisoka, which I think is fine, but we don't need any more building up for Hisoka.
We don't. And here's the other thing. You can sort of sacrifice characters for the sake of other characters.
Yes.
That is something you can do. Mm-hmm. But Kastro isn't a character.
He's not a character.
He was introduced this episode.
Yep. In fact, the best part of giving him a character, so to speak, had nothing to do with the fight. It was Killua's interaction with him in the hallway, and the fact that we saw his technique, and we had a bunch of guesses that were all completely wrong.
Right.
But that was great.
Yes.
That was showing, not telling.
Yeah.
It was an example of a character that we already cared about a lot, kind of coming into this and being like, wait, I need to figure out some things here.
And if
we do care about Hisoka, but it's different when it's in the fight context.
And if they had done it the way that you mentioned, where instead it was that Kastro was this unbeatable person,
right?
Then it would be, granted, we don't need more building up for Hisoka, but it could be additional, because then we could have Killua trying to scope it out, and he can't figure it out, and he's like, whoa, this is amazing, how is this guy doing this?
Yeah.
And then the way that Hisoka can shine is not in his brute strength, but in his ability to figure out what's going on, which is what they tried to do here, except that Hisoka was already the top dog.
The way they did it this way was they tried to make us believe that, whoa, Hisoka actually lost an arm, he's in danger. And it maybe made us think that for a split second, but then all you have to do is think about the context of what you're watching, and you go,
there's no way he's going to be one-armed when he's fighting Gon.
Right. If anything, we'll start going into pretty baseless speculation about how there's no blood flowing from his arm.
I think that was a censoring thing, because they did the golden dust instead of blood.
Not really in this. The golden dust. That's right. Yeah. But I thought that was potentially like aura or something.
Yeah. Well, because it is a reminder of that other show. Yeah.
Right. So, one of the things that I'd say is a positive this episode was they had a little bit of focus on Gon.
Yes.
Specifically on him keeping his promise. Mm-hmm. The fact that he still gets excited when he's going into a dangerous fight.
Yep.
He's also kind of a person that has some kind of crazy regenerative capabilities based up through, I don't know, who he is, his aura and stuff. Well, one of the things that this kind of leads me to think is that they've kept this mystery up with Gon for so long.
They have.
That I feel like they're never really going to truly explain it, at least like in the near future. It's the idea that Gon is a mystery.
Right.
And it actually makes him more interesting by not explaining it.
Yes, that is an excellent point. You don't need to make him be a demi-everything, with powers from this and that.
Yeah, we're not even... There's no even hint of that, Jacob, right. So I don't think that's relevant here.
Yeah.
But the point is that Gon as a main character is actually interesting by the fact that we don't know actually how he's doing all this stuff. But I get the feeling that because this is HunterxHunter, they will have to explain it at some point when they can't keep the air of mystery going long enough. Especially now that they've introduced the Nen, system of sorts.
That's true. That is very
so it's
true.
The question of, is he subconsciously using some kind of Nen capabilities or something? Who knows? But I think that was way more interesting than the actual bit of the fight that we got. I think the idea that Hisoka can lose an arm at the elbow, scratch himself on the shoulder with it, and just be like, I don't really care.
Right.
I think does build him up a little bit.
It does.
But we didn't need it.
We didn't need it. And because that makes... What that does is it makes me really curious about what Hisoka's powers exactly are.
Sure.
If something like losing an arm isn't a problem.
Right. And if anything, it builds him up in that regard. But in the context of this fight becomes less and less interesting the more and more it goes on. Because we know Hisoka's going to win. Yeah. We know he has to win because they've literally set it up story-wise to where it basically got super predictable all of a sudden.
Right, and
I feel like HunterxHunter isn't a predictable show on the details. It's these broad stroke little points where you're like, oh, they just showed their hand accidentally.
Sure.
HunterxHunter told us that Hisoka was going to win.
Right.
And maybe that's why it's a part 1, is that you're meant to watch it with the next episode.
That is a great point. Yeah. But the... One thing I would like to point out is that the idea of predictable fights is not necessarily a bad thing.
It isn't.
Having a fight where you know who's going to win, where say it's very one-sided or whatever, that's fine. But you've got to own it.
You do have to own it. That's true.
You don't want to try and do misdirection on the audience because they can tell that it's not going to go that way.
To be fair, I don't think everyone got into the whole thing of like, whoa, we remembered exactly that the 10-4 rule existed for the Heaven's Arena thing. If you win 10 times, you lose 4 times. So they don't think, well, because Hisoka has already 3 losses under his belt means he can't lose. Because now, even Hisoka doesn't have a true character yet. We know a little bit about his motivations. We know a little bit about the things that kind of excite him, so to speak.
He's a caricature with so much personality to him.
Right.
But we don't really know his motivations.
Right. We know that he has things that he likes and desires, but as to why he likes and desires those things and kind of the things that make up his persona, we know way more about Killua.
Yes.
Gon, even Kurapika and Leorio by like a mile ahead of where Hisoka is.
Because
Hisoka, I would say, has that mystery that Gon has, but it's added with all the extra personality as well.
Right. Because where Hisoka is right now, as far as like his character goes, he kind of just revolves around Gon. We don't, like if Gon were not in HunterxHunter, we wouldn't know if Hisoka would like just sit around being bored or like what he would do.
If anything, it feels like they could be being a little bit meta with that. They realize that a lot of shonen protagonists have that rival character that exists solely to be the rival, and they have no actual motivations as a character individually.
Sure.
And the idea is that Hisoka dances around the idea of being exactly that, but they leave it open enough to where you're like, but he could be more.
Right, because...
And there's that potential, and you go, ooh, potential.
Because he just... Destiny.
Destiny, yeah, exactly. Sorry, that was a KOTOR reference for any of you that picked on that. But with the idea that Wing is losing control.
Yeah,
I thought that was a weird throwaway line.
It was.
And
out of place.
His student, Zushi, noticed it. He was like, Wing? Like, he's like, something wrong? And I think the idea is that Wing notices that they're really powerful. Like, they're really gifted.
Sure.
And the idea is that right now he has the leverage of being able to teach them because he is, at the moment, stronger than them.
Okay.
But his own soul is a little bit wavering in its resolve because of the idea that when he does teach them, he will be awakening a terrible beast, as he said in the beginning of the episode. Ooh. But the thing that's interesting is that he said beast singular, not
beasts.
Beasts, as in he's speaking specifically about Gon,
right?
Which is which is interesting.
Now, okay, tinfoil hat
theory.
All right, Wing has kind of an unkempt appearance, while he very much looks like the academic and intellectual, right?
Sure.
Now there's the whole idea that you see what you're familiar with, right? So you see on the outside what you see on the inside. Yeah. So he said a beast. So they're not going to do this, I don't think. But it almost seems like they're setting up for some kind of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde thing.
Okay. So very similar to a lot of other anime protagonists where they have the demon inside them.
But instead they're doing it for a side character.
Because Wing is Jekyll and Hyde?
Yeah.
Oh.
And then maybe...
Oh, I thought you were saying that he was feeling like he was awakening...
Oh, no. Well, no, I was...
Hyde in someone like Gon.
In someone like Gon?
Yeah.
Well, okay, possibly. That would be awesome.
I feel like it's a little bit more metaphorical when he says beast. I think he's saying that Gon is someone that's acquiring so much strength, much like Killua. But the reason why Killua doesn't frighten him as much is I feel like Killua...
He's practiced.
Yes. Yeah. He doesn't feel as raw. He's more refined. And Gon just is this sponge. Yes, it's more instinctual. Yeah. Exactly. So that would be a little bit more worrisome. But the fact that Wing is freaking out a little bit is kind of the idea that he, like Hisoka even... Hisoka had his bloodlust thing that he was trying to control in the Hunter exam. Wing has his own aspect of Nen that he struggles to keep under control.
Yeah, I almost think that might have been like a bad translation or something because
if that was a bad translation, guys, have someone reach out to us through the Discord or something like that. I mean, you guys can leave it in the comments, but unfortunately, we're not able to read comments of HunterxHunter because a lot of you guys just feel the need to spoil us, and we've got great mods, but the mods have said it's almost never safe.
Just stay away.
Yeah. It's a bummer though. The aspect of the fight being a two-parter though. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like it's a two-parter, or it can't be a three-parter? Is what I'm saying.
No. I don't think it's going to be that. I think this is more of something, kind of like how they set up Gon's fight with the spinning tops dude.
Oh, sure.
I think it's something where they're having it halfway, at the second half of the episode, and then at the first half of the episode, just as a way to keep viewer retention.
Sure. So the idea is that when we have a fight that's going to take up an entire episode or more, that is a fight that we will really care about.
Right.
But for these fights, they recognize that
it's not the strongest
is a side
fight.
Thing. This is not as important. So what we'll do is we'll give you the first half be about Gon and Killua, character development, and all that. It's good stuff. Second half, we will lead up the fight, and we'll drop a little cliffhanger.
Right.
And then and finish it over in the first half of the next episode.
And then the second half of the next episode will probably be where we get more character development and stuff.
Cool. I think that's a good format for side fights. I feel like, unfortunately, we will end up more often than not in situations like this where a certain portion of the fight will not be interesting. I think the idea of Kastro's abilities and stuff, cool. A double. We didn't figure that out.
But that's fun. That could have been explained in 10 seconds.
That could have been explained much faster.
Yeah.
The idea that this is being used as a teaching experience for us as the audience who don't know anything about Nen is that these are the kinds of things that Nen can do.
Right.
And we don't want to just say this is something I did with Nen. We want to say specifically like how they figured it out.
Yeah.
What the like all the hows, the what's, the who's, the where's, and all those questions that we might not have even necessarily needed to ask,
right?
Like, or even wanted to ask.
Sure.
But
now
we're gonna get some of them answered for us anyway.
And here's a way that if they could have done it better, I think.
Okay.
What if instead they had Hisoka and Kastro. It's just not even in my mind. But they have them fight, right? And Killua watching. Right. And they have them do a bunch of stuff, and they don't explain it in the moment, right? So, like, Castro's doubles. He just starts using them, and Killua's just like, whoa, doubles? And, whoa, what's this tiger palm? Okay.
Or the idea is that maybe what you're saying is that Hisoka, it's not like he's completely unaware of it. It's more of like, whoa, this is a surprise, and then we see him figuring it out.
Exactly. So that way, instead of having them actually be talking about it.
Right.
Because, like, one of the things I was wondering is, like, so does the audience just like watching the two people that are supposed to be fighting just sitting there talking of, this is my technique, and blah, 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 you'll never be able to figure it out. And, but if it was something like that for Killua, they could essentially have a reason to slow down the fight because it's through Killua's perspective. Yeah. He's basically being like, wait, okay, so that was okay, cool.
Right. And Killua's trained enough in just techniques in general to be able to analyze things, but he'll have that blind perspective where he could know that something happened, but he won't know how it happened.
Sure, and that could be something he could ask Wing about later. It's like, wait a minute, okay, I was watching their fight and I picked up on that and then it's this, but what was how did doubles,
that work?
How did he actually make them?
Right, and then we have a little bit of recap or something like
exactly.
that. And then it's fine. But yeah, other than that, it was an average episode.
Yeah, not a whole lot to it.
Yeah. I think though it gives potential to the next episode.
Yes.
The next episode has the potential to redeem it some way.
Right, and at the very least, it should focus more on what Hisoka's doing rather than what
Kastro is doing.
Thank you. Yeah.
Just like, I do not care about this character. No, it's really interesting how we care more about the Phantom Troop than we do this character that we've actually spent screen time with.
And I would say here's the reasons why. One, there's the idea of mystery, right? Where it's like, oh, the Phantom Troop, hushed voices, right?
Right.
And then there's also the idea that there's someone who very deeply cares about the Phantom Troop, Kurapika.
Yeah.
So, by extension, we care. This Kastro guy, I mean, okay, there was the part where Killua cared a little bit, and that was the best part of the episode. Even when he's fighting him, Hisoka does not care about Kastro at
Which
all.
means we don't care either.
Exactly.
So it's one of those things that's, I've talked about this with main characters, is you don't want to make an apathetic main character. Yeah. Because you run into a lot of the situations right here where Hisoka being apathetic about the fight itself means we don't care about it.
Exactly. And you can do that.
We care more about Hisoka, maybe.
Exactly.
But we don't care about the things that they're actually engaged in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, apathetic person in a fight, that can work. Just make it faster so that you can see that the person's doing all this stuff and Hisoka's just like, you're toast, bro.
Right. Then we feel the build up towards the eventual moment where things switch and Hisoka just destroys him.
But keeping it shorter.
Yeah. All right, well, good stuff. And if you want to watch the next 2 HunterxHunter episodes, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon's early access.
Yes.
Get on that. You get to check out also our Discord as well. It comes with it. And you get to chat with us about stories and what have you. And we'll see you all later. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.